Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. This segment is sponsored by Duran Premium Cigars, one of the fastest-growing boutique cigar companies, providing smokers a portal into the old Cuban tradition of perfect balance and the lost art of progressive flavor construction. Roberto Paleo Duran began his career in tobacco over 2 decades ago in Havana, where his reputation grew within Cuban circles. The creation of Duran Premium Cigars has given Roberto the platform to introduce a series of cigars that offer the same quality, construction, and detail which he perfected while in Cuba. Brands include the ultra-premium Roberto P. Duran Cigar Series, Azan Cigars, Naya, and Baracoa. Duran Cigars uses a seed-to-humidor approach, as all the tobacco is grown on their farms and rolled in their factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. Rollers have been carefully chosen to carry out Roberto's precise method to ensure the progressive flavor construction in each cigar. Progressive flavor construction is an old Cuban technique where the cigar is designed to increase in strength as the cigar is smoked. This technique, combined with premium tobacco, provides a perfectly balanced and pleasurable smoking experience. Duran Cigars invites you to make their premium your standard. And by M. Bombay Cigars, representing the most admired cigar culture of Cuba. They select the best of the best quality tobacco to use in the aging process. M. Bombay Cigars are then rolled in Costa Rica by some of the most experienced cigar rollers, giving it a unique smoking experience. The band portrays the detailed and artistic nature of our small industry. Try the M. Bombay Casera, M. Bombay Mora, and recently released M. Bombay Habano. M. Bombay Cigars, where the cigar is a way of life. From the makers of the #1 cigar in USA in 2013, the Aging Room Quattro F55, comes yet another highly rated cigar, the Aging Room Bin No. 1. The Aging Room Bin No. 1 is a full-bodied Dominican cigar made with some of the world's oldest tobacco on the market today. From the harvest of 1997, 98, and 99, Aging Room Bin No. 1 starts out smooth and builds up in strength and flavor until it reaches its full potential. The Aging Room Bin No. 1 is for the true connoisseur looking for a sophisticated smoking experience with balance, complexity, and character. Aging Room Cigars. Blending is in our DNA. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. I'm your host, Paul Sidorian, joined by Will Cooper on the lines via Skype from North Carolina. Very excited to talk about our Stogies of the Week. Will, why don't you get us started?
Yeah, before I do that, I just want to, first of all, we haven't formally welcomed Boutique Blends as one of our sponsors. They kind of came on last week. So welcome to Raphael. Glad to have him aboard. And we're going to welcome another sponsor on this week, which is a company, a whiskey company.
Very excited about this. I mean, I'm excited about all our sponsors, but I'm very excited to have our first really non-cigar sponsor on the show. And it's a whiskey company. And you've had a lot of interaction with these folks, and I can't wait to try. I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah, so there's a cigar connection with these guys because the national sales manager used to be the general manager of my local cigar shop. He went over to Defiant Whiskey. He introduced me to this product. I'll go real quick, and we'll be talking about them more in the last few. Folks know I'm not the drinker. Okay, I'm not a big spirits drinker, but I really believe in this product, Defiant Whiskey. It is a fantastic whiskey. It's got this vanilla. And it really has those oak flavors that you're going to get in the whiskey. It's not a peaty. It's not a spicy whiskey. But what's unique about it, and I'll just kind of, first of all, it's made in North Carolina. So their distillery is in North Carolina. But they have a unique process that they use to make their whiskey. So instead of aging it in oak barrels, they put these spirals.
Oh, yeah. Is that the spiral? I haven't seen one yet.
This is an actual spiral that they use for the aging, and they put them in the containers. And it's I don't want to say it's kind of their process. I think they're the only ones doing it. It does speed up the aging time, but the idea is with the spirals in there, more of the liquid is hitting it. And I'll tell you what, it's a very, very good product. I'm really looking forward to interacting with these guys a lot more. And they're just great people behind the company, small company, and they're starting to make a footprint nationally. So you'll be hearing a lot more about Defiant Whiskey over the next few months.
Awesome. So, Will, what you been smoking?
So interesting. We talk about this some weeks where you have you have your slumps. I'm kind of in the opposite, where I've been in this. I've been on this roll right now, where it just seems like everything there's a lot of good stuff that I'm smoking for whatever reason that I've just been amazed about it. One of the ones I'll kick off with is a cigar that we've talked about on Stogie Geek Shorts. It's a cigar located right next door, and that's the only place you can get it right now. It's the La Aurora 100 Años Preferidos edition. So, in a nutshell, that cigar is the Preferido size. If you look at it, it is the iconic. It's like an iconic size in La Aurora's iconic blend. Is the best way to put it. And Havana Cigar Club has got a limited run of those boxes right now, sitting right next door. And I've been hit or miss with some of the Cien Años. I'll be honest with you. Some of the sizes have just been. It's not. The Maduro's on a different level completely.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna. But some of the sizes, like the Lancero has been off the charts, really good. Obviously that's one of them. But the Preferidos, I was real impressed with this cigar. I just thought it delivers a nice amount of sweetness with just like the perfect amount of spice. A lot of natural tobacco flavors going on. It has this little bit of a chocolate note in the background. It's not a very chocolatey coffee-like cigar per se, but it's just got a touch of that, which I really, really enjoyed on that. It really is in that medium to medium full range, so it's not going to overpower you per se. I think if you like La Aurora 100 Años, you're really going to like the Preferido. I mean, so I think you can't go wrong with that. And just to clarify what the size of that Preferido is, it's the 6x58. So it's that Preferido number one size. And I think it worked real well. I didn't feel like I was smoking a big ring gauge cigar because of the way that cigar is tapered. Very good. So I put it probably as one of the better ones I've had in a while, and it's a box worthy one. Want to mention 1.2. Todd Lascola, the owner of Havana Cigar Club, he's told us that this is from the original La Cien Años batch going back to 2004. So
yeah, we did a Stogie Geek short on this one.
Yeah. So check out that. We go into a lot of detail with that as well as smoke it. And like I said, they still have them next door, so you can absolutely go check out the Havana Cigar Club. And they $16.50 for the cigar, but if you're a member, it's $12.50.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a great cigar. Smoke those now too.
Smoke them now.
You know what? It's a long weekend coming up. Tomorrow's a holiday, and I got a couple of days off next week, so I'm gonna actually bring some of those home with me to smoke this weekend because they need to be smoked now. I wouldn't let them age too much longer. So
I think it's one thing I guess aging in the factory, but it's another thing once they're aging in the humidor that I think is a little different.
I smoked a lot of interesting stuff this week. Well, I smoked some new stuff. I smoked some really old stuff. Not just aging wise, but older kind of brands. Now, I think you're going to be surprised into some of my ratings. You probably already peeked to see what I'm going to talk about, but
right,
you know where I'm going. I smoked a Romacraft Intemperance EC, which I'm assuming stands for Ecuadorian Connecticut, as that's the wrapper on this one. This is the 18th. Do I get my Roman numerals right? 18th.
XVIII. Yes,
it would be 18th, right?
Yep, for the 18th Amendment.
Okay. This is the Brotherly Kindness.
Yep.
The Grand Robusto size. And this was kind of an interesting cigar. I went into the cigar well, and I said, well, this is like a morning cigar. Like, I really want to try the Romacraft, what they would term as he actually touts it as medium to full. I would call it more medium.
I agree.
But to me, this doesn't have that morning profile to me. And I think that kind of reflected in my rating. Like, I was really looking for the morning profile. I know some people have said this is their favorite Connecticut cigar, and these are people that don't like Connecticut cigars, and I can see that because this smokes nothing like a Connecticut cigar. I mean, this has a completely unique and different profile from any other Connecticut cigar I've ever smoked. It's a lot more earthiness in the flavor profile than any other Connecticut cigar. And that, for me, personally, is not a flavor that I look for in the morning. I like my morning Connecticut cigars to have that smooth creaminess, a lot of sweetness. this was not that. So I wouldn't put this in my morning smoke. I would smoke this later in the afternoon with coffee. This would be like my afternoon coffee cigar. Did you find that too, Will? This is only the second one I've smoked, and it's all been this size too. So I don't know what the blend, gets tweaked for those different sizes. I think it's the Faith that's Perfecto that people say is really good. I want to get my hands on some of them as well. This was a very enjoyable cigar. Again, not in my profile for a morning style Connecticut. Very, very different. If you don't like Connecticut's, you're probably going to really like this cigar, as it smokes nothing like your traditional Connecticut's. I'm calling this one a 5-er.
I probably agree. I agree with the rating, but you actually said something that hit home, that earthiness, and I never put my finger on it till you just said that. So that's a real good point, I'd say, on that.
You might get some creaminess, some caramel, a lot of honey sweetness from your Connecticut cigars. Even some of the ones that are coupled with spice aren't bad, but to have that earthiness was in the morning was it was weird for me. But in the afternoon with coffee, I'd smoke this all day long.
Excellent. No, I agree. I agree with you on that one.
Back to you, Will.
I smoked a cigar from De Crassier. And I believe these were in your last cigar shipment, so you should have them.
Okay, yeah, I haven't been smoking through the stuff you sent me recently because I got so much other stuff.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But they're definitely on my list to smoke.
Yep. So De Crassier, they're one of our sponsors, and they came out with a cigar called the Flor de Crassier Selection 512. And what's unique about this cigar is there's a few things unique. It's De Crassier makes all their cigars in Costa Rica. So this is a Costa Rican-made cigar. They package this cigar in a cedar line can, or tin, I should say. I don't want to say can. So it's a nice black tin that really, really looks nice. And if you remember, we were talking to Mel from M. Bombay. He was a firm believer that cylindrical shape is just better to store cigars in. So I'm wondering if we're seeing a little bit of a trend here. It's not a new technique. I mean, this is something that goes back to Cuba there. The blend is cool. It's a cool blend. It's an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, a Costa Rican Sumatra binder. And I have not seen a Costa Rican Sumatra binder before. I mean, or I've heard of one before. So that was a little unique. And it's a mix of Costa Rican and Dominican filler. I smoked the Hermosos number 2, which is a 5 7/8 by 48, so it's kind of a larger Corona Gorda.
Or a mini Churchill.
Or a mini Churchill. Yeah, that's another way to look at it. Love the cigar. And I've been I love De Crassier cigars. The one thing I'll say about this cigar is, first of all, his cigars are usually a little higher priced. This one you're looking at a cigar between $6 and $7 for, which is a great, great price. It's got a little bit of, it's got some nice, this does have the nice chocolate notes. It's got a little bit of this like fruit sweetness, which is like almost like a dried fruit jam type sweetness that it just complements it perfectly. There's a little bit of red pepper in there as well. Very, very well balanced cigar. Construction, again, $6 to $7 cigar. There were no corners cut with construction. I thought this smoked fantastic. It gets full bodied towards the end of this cigar too, so it's going to deliver a nice smoke for you. It's probably a cigar I'd actually gear more for an experienced cigar smoker. But what I found is some cigars, if eventually you want to get that novice smoker to something maybe a little fuller, and there's certain cigars that are really good at that. This is one of those cigars where if someone's been in that mild range and they want to progress, this is something that's going to have that medium to full strength and that medium to full bodied. So it's not going to overpower you. For the price point, you can't beat it. It's a box can worthy thing for $6 to $7. Great everyday smoke.
Awesome. I went back in time, Will, and I've been saying I wanted to do this when Davidoff released the new Winston Churchill, which I was excited about. The new Winston Churchill that's on the market today is completely reblended. Yeah. Completely different cigar from the ones that were previously produced. As we said before, Davidoff did a great job blending the new Winston Churchill. The Robusto size is by far my favorite. I reviewed every other size here in the show. when that came out, I said, I really want to get my hands on the older Winston Churchills. Mark Jr. had given me one that had some super amount of age on it. It was actually in the Churchill size, which I'll review coming up as well. But I found the Winston Churchill number 10 Robusto, and the interesting part about these is what everyone told me was, oh, I wasn't a big fan of the blend, and it was really way overpriced. But since Davidoff has discontinued the older Winston Churchills, obviously in favor of the new Winston Churchills, which the Robusto size, I would pay whatever the MSRP is on that all day long. I bought a box of them. In fact, I love them so much. The older Winston Churchills, you can find these at a reasonable price now. So I found these, Will, at like 60% off MSRP, which is unheard of. But again, they're discontinued. So it's not a knock on the cigar. It's not an internet cigar, as some people will say. You know, it's not something that for any other reason is being discontinued other than the fact that the manufacturers decided to discontinue this brand in favor of the new Winston Churchill brand. So I smoked 2 of these Robustos, Will. This cigar is really awesome. I was actually surprised because everyone gives their opinion before you smoke it. You can't help but have preconceived notions. I thought this cigar was great. It has this wood cedar type flavor that persists without, which is extremely enjoyable, especially in this Robusto size. I really like smoking it. Had a little bit of sweetness towards the end. I smoked 2 of them. I love them. I would box split this with a friend all day long. It's a mild cigar. You can smoke it really anytime. It's very versatile. You could probably smoke these in the morning. I don't know if it would be my first cigar. Maybe. I mean, because they're not overly strong. And you can smoke these later on in the evening as well. Great cigar. Again, box split these with a friend.
Yeah, the interesting thing about, you made a good point, is these cigars they're being discontinued, but at the same time, retailers, they got to sometimes just clear stuff out. But nothing more to make room for new stuff, and they can't hoard. And we heard Paul Doyle talk about this. That they can't hoard the stuff,
hoard it, right?
Which is why they have their tent sale. So this is, I think, a good example. And I'm sure there's gonna be some retailers that squirrel some away. But if you see them, I remember the Camachos all got discounted before the new line came out.
Yeah.
And I was getting triple Maduros for like insane prices with the old bands. So
yeah.
So nothing wrong with them. Yeah.
This was one of those discontinued cigars that really stood out for me.
That was a little bit of a pricier cigar, but for what that cigar was, I agree with you. It's probably that's where I'd have that particular size of the Winston Churchill.
Back to you, Will.
I smoked another cigar from our friends at Luge. I smoked, this is their new Luge Serengeti. And, I've been very high on the Luge cigars. And they don't tell much about their blends, but I wish they would, actually. But this was an we talked a lot about Luge cigars. We had them on episode 144. You and I have been smoking some of them. And a lot of their cigars have been, that flavor over power kind of deal. I wouldn't say their cigars are spicy, though. This was a more spicier offering. So it gave Luge, it gave Luge cigars something a little different. This is going to have much more in the amount of spice, but it's good spice. So it's going to have that nice cedar spice. It's going to have some black pepper in there. And there's a little bit of like a caramel note, which kind of balances everything out. So it's going to kind of smooth that spice out, so to speak, with it, which I really, really liked. It's also a stronger and more fuller Luge cigars, because all the other Luges I've had, the Morpheus anniversaries, have been mediums. These are more skewed to a medium full, and it's towards the end, the cigar will get full-bodied. It's a great cigar. It's actually one of the better priced Luge cigars, between $10 and $15. My burn did require a little work with this cigar.
It looks like a dark, oily wrapper, Will. So
it's a very dark, it's a thicker wrapper. And given I think I smoked this thing rather quickly, it wasn't a terrible Paul syndrome burn. It needed just a little more work than probably I normally prepare. But overall, I think the cigar is there. They've actually started to limitedly release these things, and they've got to do a full launch at the show. And pretty much a lot of people have smoked it, pretty much have liked it. So I think it's another. Luge has just been hitting the box worthy. I mean, I actually want to find some retailers down here to get it so I could start keeping these in my rotation, because I really like their cigars.
I smoked a few different cigars from Warped Cigars, and we had Kyle Gellis, right? Did I
Yep.
get that right? Kyle Gellis on the show quite a few episodes back. And I've been kind of, dabbling in his line lately, so I wanted to share my experiences with our listeners. So I smoked from the El Oso line. This is the El Oso Cub. These are rolled in the El Titan de Bronze factory.
Yep.
It's an Ecuadorian Habano Oscuro wrapper with Nicaraguan and Dominican fillers and an Ecuadorian binder. This is a Petit Corona-sized cigar. This cigar was really good. Kyle, I think, definitely has done a fantastic job in capturing the Cuban-esque flavor profile. And I don't quite know what that means because it's kind of subjective, right? But the smoking experience and the flavor profile, the categories that you put those flavors in, I mean, sometimes I would swear that there was Cuban tobacco in some of his blends. Like, that's how well he's kind of represented the flavor profiles in his blends. This cigar was very good. It had some great flavors. It was a little earthy. Had some chocolate notes, especially in this Petit Corona size. I find the other sizes smoke very, very differently. This one was really concentrated. Being a Petit Corona, you get kind of a fuller, darker, richer flavor from the smaller ring gauges, in my opinion. The wrapper choices are interesting. I'll talk about the La Colmena as well. This is the Ecuadorian Habano in the Oscuro. So that I think that's also why I got kind of a deeper, richer flavor profile. I would call this one a 5er. Now, I do have to say that I've had a couple of, kind of construction issues. Sometimes I chalk that up to Paul syndrome. With some of these cigars, I have had a couple of issues with construction. So I just want to kind of put that out there. This one that I reviewed smoked fine. I tried to smoke another one from this one, and I did have some construction issues. So I guess I will caution folks that if you do get these, to buy it from your local brick and mortar. I unfortunately did not because there is no brick and mortar outside of driving 2.5 hours that carries this brand, and I really want to try it because I love the flavor profiles that Kyle puts in his cigar. It really hits my wheelhouse flavor profile-wise. But I would buy it from your brick and mortar that are usually more than happy to exchange it out if you have some construction issues.
Yeah, the interesting is he has a whole other. So he has the El Titan de Bronze, and then he's got the Nicaraguan cigars being made at Casa Fernandez.
Yeah, he's got a whole Nicaraguan line from Casa Fernandez, right?
And there's a Cuban profile, I'd say, with those cigars.
Interesting.
But it's got that Nicaraguan flair.
Mm-hmm.
And I smoke a lot of Casa Fernandez, and I think very, very highly of that. And that's what they tend to do in those Casa Fernandez cigars. So there's a different Cuban-esque quality. It's got a little more of that Nicaraguan flair to it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. So I rated that one a 5er. I'll go ahead and, while we're on the Warp Cigars, I'll talk about the La Colmena Unico Especial. And this was a direct-to-store release, Will. This is a limited release, and I didn't actually realize this.
Well, not direct-to-store. It was a limited release for people who went to the IPCPR last year. So
okay.
You had yeah.
Yeah, so this is a very limited cigar. I think it's kind of leaked out into a couple other retailers, so we're able to find it. And this cigar rates pretty high. Some of the other reviews I read on it after I smoked it rated it pretty high. And this has a lot more of that Cuban-esque feel for it. But the blend between these two is very similar. These, of course, come from the El Titan de Bronze factory as well. And this wrapper is an Ecuadorian Desflorada.
Yep.
Very light-looking wrapper, gorgeous-looking wrapper. It also has the Ecuadorian binder and Dominican Nicaraguan fillers. Very, very much in that Cuban flavor profile. Nice amount of sweetness, a hint of citrus, that little bit of like Cuban earthiness. But, I mean, sometimes you would swear you're smoking a Cuban cigar. Like I said, Kyle hit it on the head. This one's very much medium-bodied. The El Oso is a little more fuller in body. This one is very much medium-bodied. I really enjoyed smoking this cigar. Even at an MSRP of $15, I'd say box split this with a friend.
Yeah, I'll say a few footnotes on that. It's my second favorite Warp cigar. So, I mean, it's a very, very good cigar. It's another can release, actually. So
Yes.
now the problem is I've talked with people who've gotten the cans and that they've had some damage, and that's a very delicate. That Desperado wrapper is delicate, and
Very
there's a little.
delicate.
And the important thing is there's a little stinger on that the footer.
Yes.
It's kind of like a bee stinger on it.
Yep, you can see it in the picture, actually.
Yep. So, that's but it is a great cigar. That Desperado wrapper, Mel's using it in Bombay. Brian Chinook's using it as well. So it's a very good wrapper.
Yeah, I've heard us talk about that wrapper before. I was going to ask you who else was using it.
Yeah, it's not, I don't want to say it's widespread, but people, there are some, like I said, we've had some, I know Mel's done quite a bit with that wrapper on his Caceres.
Cool. Back to you, Will.
So speaking of Casa Fernandez, I smoked actually a cigar made by Casa Fernandez for Illusione, who pretty much is their manufacturing partner. And this is a size I had not smoked before until recently of their Illusione Maduro line. It's the 68, which is a 4x44 petite Corona. And this was actually the Maduro line was launched 4 years ago. I can't believe it's that long by Illusione, but last year they announced this. They put the 68 size into the Maduro line, so it's a 4x44. I love this. This is a nice little cigar. It had nice notes of cocoa, white pepper, a little bit of a cherry sweetness component. There's this, as you get later into the profile, it gets a little more cocoa and earth-like. It's got that San Andreas Maduro wrapper, which I think Dion works real well with because he doesn't overpower it. You talk about, and I'll have another cigar I'll talk about that's in the same boat. It doesn't overpower the blend, so it allows all the other tobaccos to really, really shine. Nice, short, flavorful smoke. I'd go for this smoke, believe it or not, over the Rothschild for a short smoke, and I give it a box split.
Nice. The other size that I smoked in the older Winston Churchill line was the Blenheim, which is the traditional Churchill size. And you think you're going to smoke Winston Churchill, you're going to smoke the Churchill size. This is actually the same size that was gifted to me by Mark Jr. that had some serious age on it. And I smoked this in the Churchill size, completely different profile. You don't get as much of that really pleasant cedar flavor that I got from the Robusto. Those really awesome wood notes that were prominent in the Robusto are somewhat muted and almost missing in certain sections of this Churchill size cigar. And for that, I gave it a try one. And this is kind of where I can see where people might, not be kind of digging on the older Winston Churchill line. So I didn't so much like the Churchill size, but the Robusto size definitely stood out for me.
When you actually put this cigar in there, that was my opinion of the Winston Churchill, because when you get the Winston Churchill, what's the size you were going to get?
You're going to get the Churchill.
You're going to get the Churchill.
Yeah.
And what I discovered is if you hit those others, and it's the same thing with the new line. I'm not saying, and I think the newer Churchill is better than this Churchill.
Much better, yes.
But when you hit those other sizes, it's Churchill's a hard size to nail.
It is.
Really is.
Back to you, Will.
This one was my smoke of the week. And it was the new Fratello Bianco. And they call it the Bianco number 1, which is actually a 6 1/4 by 44 Lonsdale. This is the new Fratello blend. So this is Omar's Maduro. San Andreas wrapper. I guess I'm coming around on San Andreas wrapper. But it's a completely different blend. He did sit and slap a Maduro on here. He's got Dominican binder, which is different than the other blend. He's got a filler of Nicaraguan. His Peruvian still in there. And he's got some of that U.S. Connecticut broadleaf. U.S. Pennsylvania broadleaf in there. Another example of the cigar, the wrapper not overwhelming the cigar. This has got so much going on with it. It's got a very chocolatey profile. What happens is it's very smooth chocolate, and then as there's some spices, there's some red pepper, they converge, and I get that Mexican hot chocolate flavor, which I just love. On this, and what I love is the spice kind of varies at different points. So what I really, really liked about it is it was just there was a lot going on with this, but it remained smooth until the end. It was excellent construction, but it's a medium cigar at best in terms of medium strength and body. So it's not this deep, heavy chocolate flavors on your mouth. It's going to be medium.
Did you say Mexican hot chocolate, Will?
Yeah, like a spicy hot chocolate. Yeah.
Is that like a thing?
Yes, I
Mex-
actually went and Googled it because I've heard people use it. I'm not gonna take credit for using this flavor. I've heard it before, but I Googled it to actually see if it was a real thing, and it is. I can't remember what's in it, but
Is it like jalapenos and hot chocolate? That might
no,
actually go. Our previous conversation with Tony talked about pairing things that are very sweet with things that are very spicy. I can kind of see jalapenos and hot chocolate maybe working together. Maybe that's a new thing. Maybe we'll come up with Stogie Geeks Mexican hot chocolate.
that would be interesting because but they're actually I've heard of Mexican hot chocolate having chili powder in it though.
Interesting.
I have heard of that. So
And I think if I were to blend the Mexican hot chocolate, not only would I need chili powder or jalapenos, I would have to put copious amounts of tequila.
interesting.
That would be my Mexican hot chocolate. Maybe that's a new cocktail. Mexican hot chocolate martini.
We'll have to get
with
Jack
tequila.
Daniel on that.
Well, yeah, Jack Daniel or Paulo is going to have to come up. That's all we're going to say. We're like, we want a new cocktail, and the only thing we're going to tell you is Mexican hot chocolate.
Yeah. But what I love about this, it's not a spice bomb, and that's what really it's just very well balanced, this cigar. And I think it's gonna be I think it's Omar's best cigar he's done to date. And I've smoked a few of these. I even smoked a prototype of this as well. So. It's a fantastic cigar, but the final product was outstanding.
This was my smoke of the week. I smoked the Tatuaje, the Chuck from the Pudgy Monsters series, and I tell you what, from the moment I lit up this cigar to the moment it was done, I mean, it just delivered flavor. And when we talk about cigars that are in our higher ratings category, they get the Fight Chuck Norris, they get the Oasis ratings. It's all about flavor. This cigar was just all about flavor. It was smooth, had some touches of spice, had some just, I can't even describe the flavors, but just awesome. And this cigar, the only thing I really wish is that it was a bigger cigar so I could enjoy more of it. I mean, just the blend on this one has aged so well. I mean, this was probably my favorite of the Tatuaje Little Monsters and Pudgy Monsters. This one might have taken the cake for me out of all of those, Will. And this was a newer blend, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was one of the two newer blends.
It was one of the ones that hadn't been released before.
Right. It was the Tiff, was the Connecticut, and then the Chuck. And what was the wrapper on this one, Will? You reviewed all of these on your site.
It is an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper.
Oh, just awesome. 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 It makes me want to just go buy up all the... What stinks is, like, you can't buy a box of just this cigar. If I could buy a box of just this cigar, I totally would. And certainly, it's Fight Chuck Norris in my rating, Will. Has this kind of emerged as your favorite little or pudgy monster as well?
Well, I haven't had it recently, okay? Now, when it came out, we talked about... I remember I did talk about it on the show. And I think that the interesting thing with this cigar was... I thought it was very different than anything I've had from Tatuaje before. So I thought it was completely different. And the one thing I kind of immediately thought is aging potential was definitely there with this cigar. And I'd love to see this cigar maybe in a couple of other, some potential in some of the other sizes. Yeah. This cigar was, I think, there was mixed reaction to this cigar. I thought it was, when it came out, I had it as a box split, but I saw the potential that this thing could go higher. So I'm not surprised. I thought it was one of the better pudgy monsters that came out there, and I thought it had some. This was my feeling. I tasted Corojo, and I could be 1,000% off base. I thought I tasted Corojo sweetness in that cigar.
There was a sweetness component to it. I couldn't say whether it was Corojo or not, but I mean, when you talk about Pete nailing a blend, I mean, he nailed it in this one, and he's nailed a lot of blends of his cigar. I mean, he makes some of my most favorite cigars to smoke. And this one has just gone up in those ranks, and simply by just aging it, however long. Like, when did the Pudgy Monsters come out? Last year? Year before?
Last year.
Last year.
They came out they came out last year.
About a year ago, maybe.
They came out last summer. I mean, they came out right before the trade show.
Yeah, last year. So it's about a year. My humidor, dude, this thing is off the charts.
Had you smoked one from the previous, or is this the first time that you've had it?
This is the second one I've had.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did. I really liked it when it first came out. Again, I saw the aging potential, and I grabbed it the other night in my humidor. So, yeah, fantastic. Back to you, Will.
I'm done.
So let me talk about the La Aurora Puro Vintage 2006 that I smoked.
Oh, I want to hear about this one.
So when I first lit this cigar up, I have to say, I was not impressed. It was very unbalanced. Some of the like earthy flavors that weren't very pleasant shined through, and I was like, oh, this. I'm like, I'm not really enjoying this. I'm like, I'm gonna tough through it, and slowly started getting better and better and better. Kind of as I got, it's a Perfecto style cigar. So kind of as I got to the larger part of it, it really started to warm up and become a lot more balanced, present a lot more sweetness. And I ended up rating it a box split at the end of the day because I really enjoyed smoking it. It didn't start off very good. And a lot of times that has to do with age as well. Now, these just came out. Sometimes I think it just takes time for that cigar tobaccos to marry up and be really good from that first light. I've often found that cigars that have aged for a really long time, I mean, they start hitting you with flavors right away. Younger cigars have a tendency to take some time to warm up. This one fell in that category, and at the end, it was a box split, and I didn't think it was going to get anywhere near this rating when I first lit it up.
Interesting. I had it a box split too. I had exactly what I had. I got that earthy, and I'm just looking at what I wrote when I reviewed this. And when I got that earth at the beginning too. There was definitely, and then there was some flavor that definitely expanded on. I don't know if it lasted as long as it did for you. It seemed like it was a lot shorter, but I definitely got that earth at the beginning, and I didn't know where that was going to go.
Right.
But then when they hit those flavors, the flavors got a lot more multi-dimensional there, which I thought were really good. I actually thought it was the second best of the Puro vintages.
I would agree.
But the 4 and the 5 were not. I mean, they were nowhere near the 3.
No.
Nothing's gonna come close to the 3. That's a
that's a special cigar. Yeah,
special cigar. But I think this one was actually very good.
I agree. So then I did a full, maybe not quite full. Does the new AJ Fernandez New World Connecticut that come in more than 3 sizes? Will?
There's a 4th size.
Okay, so I smoked the Corona Gorda, the Robusto, and the Toro, all this week.
You went to town on those.
I did. I went to town on those because I recognized some potential because the sample that I got, I kind of wasn't. Was that a Toro? It must have been a Toro that you sent.
It was a Toro, and
Yes.
I mean, I'm not trying to brag here, but we were very fortunate to get one of those first samples.
Yeah. So I have to be honest. The Toro is my least favorite size. The Toro has this spiciness component to it that is very prominent and really affects the overall smoking experience throughout the entire cigar. And I didn't dig the Toro at all. I think it is, you're right, Will, it's a very mild cigar.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting. I was talking about my experiences with Todd next door, and I'm like, what are you smoking now? He's like, I'm smoking a AJ Fernandez New World Connecticut Toro. I'm like, I smoked 2 of those, and I said, I found it to be kind of spicy and really not in my flavor profile. Now, there are some people that really like a spicy Connecticut. If that's so, go find this Toro size. You're going to love it. And I mean, it's not a bad cigar. It just has a very distinct flavor profile. And Todd said, I thought it was me. He's like, I thought it was because the first cigar I lit up of the day. He's like, I thought, my senses were just kind of overreacting. And I said, no, that's the way that cigar's been smoking. I smoked 2 of them. So Todd kind of corroborated my story. So if you like a spicy Connecticut, go for the Toro.
I didn't get that spice level that you got on that. I mean, I got some spice.
Yeah.
I can't say I got the spice level that you got on it. But you've probably, but I have not hit those other sizes either.
Yeah. So then I lit up a Robusto, and I like that a lot more. The Robusto is a very good. It's got some smooth creaminess notes, some touches of sweetness. And I was like, wow, this is getting better. And I rated the Robusto size a box split. I could see myself smoking a lot more of that Robusto size. Then I went to the Corona Gorda, and this size knocked it out of the park for me. I mean, this size really captured the smooth, creamy sweetness of a Connecticut. I mean, this is like one of the this embodies everything I think a Connecticut should have. I rated this a box worthy. I think this one may actually age a little better, and you even get more of that sweetness. So the AJ Fernandez New World Connecticut Corona Gorda, it's kind of my like Connecticut smoke of the week. I really enjoyed this one the most. It's the belle of the ball so far in the sizes. What's the other size they make in this one, Will?
Bellicoso.
Okay, I haven't tried the Bellicoso. It's interesting. Some retailers won't bring in the Bellicoso because they're not big sellers.
I know. But you know what you're saying about the spice, I'm actually looking at my notes here, and now I am. I got the spice definitely hung around on the finish with that cigar. So that, and I could see that to some extent. So
yeah, Corona Gorda was just awesome, dude. It was just
But
awesome.
I have not had the other sizes yet, so that's kind of my benchmark. I got to try some of those other sizes too.
Yeah, if you're you've tried the Connecticut New World Connecticut Toro, I'd say try the Robusto and the Corona Gorda. Again, the Corona Gorda gets my resounding recommendation for a morning cigar to have with coffee. I thought it was awesome.
Yep. Yeah, it's a mild cigar. It's not gonna hit. You're not gonna get any strengths with this cigar. I'll tell you that. But
yeah, no, just smoke it, and it's not the mildest Connecticut that I've ever smoked either. I found that it did have a little bit of body, a lot of flavor, and I didn't find it to be overly mild. I mean, it's not like a Griffin's or anything, or some of the Prestige from Guillermo Leon. Is that the Connecticut that he came out with? That one's really mild too. This one's got a little more strength and body than those. So in that respect, I think that's why I rated it as high as I did. I would totally keep a box of these around and smoke them in the morning all day long.
Yeah, but when you compare it to like the Requiem and the Oval Connecticut's, they're a lot bolder. So
They are. Yeah, for AJ Fernandez, this is his mildest offering by far.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. I meant to grab some contest packs, but I didn't. I keep forgetting to do that, Will.
It was a little chaotic of a day for both of us.
It was a little chaotic. What do you want to do for contests?
We should do a contest. Do we have any AJ packs left?
I believe so. You do an AJ pack?
Let's do an AJ pack. Since
Okay.
We don't have a Connecticut in there, though. Apologize, folks.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
When we interviewed Tony Bellato, he talked about a very sweet wine that I didn't think was going to taste good, but he said it tasted good. So what was the sweet homemade wine? What was the component in there of the homemade sweet wine that Tony Bellato was judging at the homemade wine competition?
That's a great question.
It's a component you would never think to put in a wine, right?
Yep.
Well, maybe you would. I don't know, but it sounded weird, and I was shocked when he said that he liked it. So, what was that component in the homemade wine that Tony was judging?
I was shocked it was I was shocked it was even real.
Yeah, I thought it was joking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll send you an AJ Fernandez prize pack and a Stogie Geek Smoke Naked T-shirt.
Yep.
And I may even throw in a Saga T-shirt or hat or something too.
Those are nice. Yeah.
Yeah, those are nice too. We get some of those kicking around. We got a lot of stuff to give away. So
We have a couple of we're backed on a couple of contests, so folks just hang in there too.
Yes.
We had a couple of weeks. We have to get back on that.
excellent. Well, that about does it. We're back next week, right?
Moya Ruiz cigars next week.
Moya Ruiz cigars next week. Then we will be taking a week off for IPCPR, the week before IPCPR, I believe, right?
Yep. And then we have some big stuff for 150, which we'll share with you soon.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone, for watching the Stogie Geek Show. We'll see everyone next week.